Hi, everyone. I'm Daniel Young, author of Where to Eat Pizza and leader of the Naples VIP Pizza Tours. And I'm really jazzed to be joining you at the home edition of the New York Pizza Festival with 4 pizza greats, great pizzaioli and great pizza thinkers. Really people I look up to and I learn from so much. So it's so great to have them here, and we can talk about the future of Neapolitan pizza. So what I'd like to do first, and we won't always go in order, is kind of introduce each of you and find out how you got into Neapolitan pizza or a career as a pizzaiolo or chef or pizza. Just want to know how you got in, why. Peyton, of course, your pizzeria is called Mission Pizza Napolitana. And I know the mission part of that is very important. You don't mean a Bowery mission. You mean you're on a mission. So can you tell me about where that passion came from?
So for me, there's some duality in that. The idea behind the word mission really is about my personal growth and my personal desire to sort of just establish myself in the pizza world, prove to myself that I could do it, incorporate this thing that I fell in love with into my life, and try to craft my life around my business. And the other part of that word is the idea of coming from a really small town in North Carolina that has really no, as a statewide, region-wide, Neapolitan pizza has never really been a thing here. And so coming to it from the standpoint of, there's a mission for me to then take this thing that I fell in love with and really embraced wholeheartedly, which I think, frankly, is one of the great food cultures of the world that still is largely kind of unknown to the layperson, and bring it to my hometown. And so that personal piece, as well as the community piece, and being able to expose and educate people about what we do, that's kind of the idea behind Mission Pizza.
Peyton, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but almost coming from North Carolina, you're not burdened with a pizza tradition the same way that Anthony had coming to New York from New Jersey, that people might be almost more open-minded. They're not as rigid in their views of what pizza is. Am I right or am I wrong?
That's an interesting question. I think there's some truth to your idea, and I think there's a counterpoint to that. So in terms of, there's no sort of New York style pizza tradition here. There's no New Haven style tradition, et cetera, et cetera. We don't have those long standing frameworks in the Carolinas to think about pizza. However, our framework typically in the Carolinas when it comes to pizza is commodity chain pizza. And so there very much is an element where I live and around me, where people's palates, their framework or their mindset about pizza is very, very different than Neapolitan pizza, right? And so that can be a challenge. So I see both for sure. So people that can take an open mind and receive something like my product for the first time. And we definitely see plenty of times also where we're sort of butting up against the standard of what people are accustomed to here. And as you can imagine, it's really heavy, really commoditized. And it's also, there's a price sensitivity that's baked into that as well. So there's both.
It's funny about price. Anthony, when I first went to your pizzeria in the East Village, that was the second location really of Una Pizzeria Napolitana, I was surprised by how expensive the pizza was. And we'll get into that a little later about all the obstacles you had. You had to believe in yourself, Anthony, because there was so much opposition or people just had other ideas. But I just want to roll back. And before the whole Neapolitan boom happened, before the hipster pizza or artisanal or tattooed pizzaioli, you were way out in front. And I wanted to know, how did that happen?
Well, yeah, I mean, I grew up with my grandmother as a very big influence. My family was from Naples and from Campania, around Naples. So I had heard stories and kind of, fell in love with the family history and the ideas that I kind of created in my own mind of what I thought pizza should be like. And then when I got a little bit older, I started going to Naples with my family and then just with my mom. And then ultimately I started doing a lot of trips by myself. And definitely this was like, pre-tourism in Naples. I mean, you just wouldn't really see anyone visiting Naples for, pizza or anything like you do now. But I quickly felt fulfilled on kind of the passion, and it just, I agree, like you were saying earlier, I grew up kind of with this strong, like, East Coast, New Jersey, New York, Italian American culture and that style of pizza. But once I tasted the pizza in Naples, it just tasted so ethnic at the time. It tasted really like a foreign food to me. And I just really got sucked into everything about it quickly. And my dream became to kind of try to bring that to the US. And that was the beginning of it. And then I just kind of stuck with it. And I was really lucky pretty quickly on in New Jersey that I started to build a little bit of a core following of other kind of weirdos that not necessarily were like Italian Americans or pizza people, but it seemed like it kind of appealed to people who were just into different stuff, whether it was music or whatever. I kind of tried to create a place where it was like really about like just following your passion. And I think it appealed to other people. And then that was about 8 years of doing that. And then my dream had been to, at that point, I really wanted to go to New York City and just kind of like really show what I was doing. And yeah, I don't know. And so, yeah, and then on the price point too, like, the ingredients back then were so hard to get and they were so expensive that I just had to keep ramping up the prices on it. And also I didn't make anything else in the restaurant. And I, at the time, had kind of refused to ever add anything to the menu because I really wanted people to come in and not have anything distract them from the pizza. So I didn't want to have them have bread or appetizers or desserts or anything. I wanted them to come in and just like have water, Coke, wines from Campania, or pizza, and that's it.
Well, that's a great introduction for Vincenzo Capuano, who entered pizza in a more traditional route and now has 3 pizzerias in Naples and or the Naples area. And also Vincenzo, you'll forgive me, he is a young pizza maker torn between tradition and his family traditions, but also pushing the envelope, doing something contemporary, and even thinking about the future, which is really the topic. So Vincenzo, great to see you.
Sono felicissimo di vedere tutti.
I'm so glad to see you all.
Okay, Vincenzo, tell us how you got into pizza making.
Io nasco da una famiglia di 3 generazioni di pizzaioli.
Okay, I'm born in a family with a 3-generation tradition of pizza making.
Tutto nella mia famiglia vive e gira intorno alla pizza.
Everything in my family is based on pizza.
Solo che sono nato a Napoli in un momento difficile, in un quartiere difficile, come Scampia.
I'm born and raised in Scampia, a really difficult place and at a really difficult time.
E quindi è nata da sempre in me una forte voglia di dimostrare qualcosa al mondo.
So I always had this passion to show people something.
Quindi ho dimostrato alla mia famiglia che potevo girare il mondo, che potevo portare un nuovo tipo di pizza, e ho dimostrato cosa è capace di fare un pizzaiolo napoletano solo con la sua passione.
So I showed my family that I can travel all over the world, that I can create, that I can make a new kind of pizza, and what a real pizza maker can do just with the passion.
I'm going to go on to Michele. Michele, hello. And Michele is the chief pizzaiola, the pizza master for Orlando Foods. Orlando is making this whole thing possible. And Michele, you wear many hats. You're a teacher, you're a coach, you're a demonstrator, you run in to substitute for pizzaiola. You do a lot, and actually, we've all been helped by you without knowing it. You are just a tremendous ambassador for high quality pizza. And I'm interested how you got into pizza, and also why you went to the United States. Why didn't you didn't just open a pizzeria at home or work at pizzerias in Italy? Why you became this ambassador?
So the way I begin to do that is because I come from a very small town outside Napoli, Campania. My hometown is 7,000 people. I learned how to make pizza with my mom. I used to make bread twice a week, and that was a kind of family tradition. We used to grow our ingredients, so everything was reachable for me in a matter of ingredients. Plus, our tradition in Campania is very strong. I opened my pizzeria when I was 19 in my hometown, but as soon as I start to grow personally, I say this is gonna be too small for me. I would like to do something else. I want to do more. I know I reach a good level, but I want to learn so much. I think sometimes, like you say, Daniel, I have the many hats as a teacher, as ambassador, but I still want to learn. I still want to learn so much. I'm only 32 years old, and yes, I learn so much more than what I would start with. But I really are hungry for it, for knowledging. That's why maybe I'm never happy with myself. And that's why I keep pushing, because there is something more. I came from a small town, and I am living in New York City and been travel the whole United States. Currently now I'm in Los Angeles for pizza. I mean, I can never imagine. I came in the United States, I was not even speak English, and so I blow out every expectation that I could possibly had. So I'm very proud to be with these people, considered as friends from all you guys, and that's my little story. So
Michele, when I first went to Naples and I had my first Neapolitan pizza, and Peyton, Anthony, you'll certainly appreciate this, I couldn't believe how soft and soggy the pizza was. Okay, so it was very soft and bendy, not self-sustaining like New York pizza. I thought it had to be thin and crisp, and I didn't know how to eat it. It was just floppy, And finally, I was massacring my pizza, and some gentleman got up with his 6-year-old and said to the 6-year-old, "Show this American idiot how to eat pizza." And he folded it and then flipped the tip over. And then not only did it work, but I appreciated the product. And it kind of wrapped the toppings that way. And that's how Neapolitan pizza started, didn't it? It was sold on the street, a portfolio. So it was folded in two, it was a pouch. So you actually, even with a slice, you make a little pouch. So Michele, my question for you is, you've dealt with this resistance, introducing so many Americans to Neapolitan pizza. And Anthony, I'm going to ask you about this after, because you certainly dealt with that. But are Americans used to Neapolitan now, or does it continue to be an education? What have you found traveling around the country, Michele?
I think, as Anthony said before, and Peyton as well, they are the pioneer to do that, because they saw what potential this pizza has. So they say, I want to show you guys somehow how the real pizza is. And this is that's what helped Neapolitan pizza being more of, well known to the United States. So we have to thank them. But right now, since all those guys did the hard work and sacrifice, pizza napoletana is a much better accepted food than I was before. Because Daniel, as you say, the expectation of pizza for many people are to have something that stand and you're able to eat without any problem. But as you say, you grabbing your slice and everything was falling off. And there is actually also a way to eat the pizza, and so it's different product. And I think now it's very well accepted compared to the past. The past, I don't know, 10 years. There's been a great evolution, and that's why I became always busier and busier, because there are more people that want to see and want to learn how the real Neapolitan pizza is.
Okay, coming back to you, Peyton, and thank you, Michele. I'd like each of you to kind of together, if we could do a definition of what Neapolitan pizza is, rather than necessarily rules, but just your idea of what Neapolitan pizza is or what makes it different. So Peyton, if I could start with you and just give your explanation to everybody at the festival who either might be new to Neapolitan pizza or has been eating it for 10 years. Just what your view of what Neapolitan pizza is and what makes it distinctive.
I think about a couple of things when I think about Neapolitan pizza. If we're talking about the product itself, to me, it's fresh and bright and clean. And then for me, really another major component for me with Neapolitan pizza is cornicione. I spend a lot of time thinking about it. I spend a lot of time and effort trying to get it to where I want it to be. And that I would describe for my preference is just barely crispy on the outside, really creamy and soft and delicate in the middle. And I'm somewhere in between traditional and where a guy like Vincenzo is right now with a super exploded wide open crumb. And then the last thing about pizza for me is just people and community. It's really the most communal food there is, I think. And then culturally, Neapolitan pizza to me, like I've said this, I always say this, is one of the great, remarkable food cultures of the world. Yeah, that's Neapolitan pizza to me.
Very good, Peyton. I just want to add a couple of definitions. First of all, just for people who don't know, the cornicione is the rim of the pizza, the outer portion that doesn't actually have toppings on it, although some people are doing stuffed cornicione or dusted cornicione, and the crumb, and you're the experts, but you correct me, but that is the kind of the air pockets, the network within the crust that creates that lightness, and if you look at, you do a side section of your cornicione, you'll see plenty of air pockets, and that will create a lighter, theoretically a lighter, more digestible crust, and that will compress to the chew, which can be very pleasant as well.
Yes.
You, on the other hand, have a freedom, Anthony. How do you view, some of the things that Peyton was discussed, the shape, the texture? What is Neapolitan pizza to you?
Brown like the sun, hot like Vesuvius, and salty like the Bay of Naples. I think that's an old saying. I mean, Neapolitan pizza to me is all the things that Peyton said. I mean, I think for me, Neapolitan pizza it's roughly shaped round, it's light and filled with love. And it should be, I mean, to me, like Neapolitan pizza can't be made right unless you make it with total focus and really being dedicated. When I make pizza, nothing else on earth exists to me. It's all that I care about in those moments, even after 30 years of doing it. There's just no way to half it. If you're doing it, you got to be all in with Neapolitan pizza is so connected to dealing with a very hot oven that to be able to do what you need to do, the magic that happens in the oven is the difference for me between an amazing pizza and a so-so pizza is so small, even in the baking time, that if you're not totally in it, and completely consumed with it when you're doing it, it's not going to have the magic. To me, that's Neapolitan pizza. Neapolitan pizza is just being one with it. It's working with a dough that should be delicate. And yeah, I think that kind of gets it.
Okay, so you've opened up another area in my mind, and that is the rules, the dictates, the commandments that have been handed down by the AVPN, the Association of Neapolitan Pizza, or by the STG trademark that legislates or decrees how pizza has to be made. So the base can't be thicker than, it has to be less than 1/4 of an inch. The pizza can't be bigger than a foot. You have to use buffalo mozzarella. There are these rules. And so I wonder if you see these rules as preserving tradition or guidelines, or maybe taken a bit too far. Anthony, I'd like to know your view.
No, I think the rules are great. I mean, I think like you have with, any food products that, especially Italy, France, those countries that have these kind of histories in certain food items, I think it's important that they did this, to preserve something that is part of the culture and also to have a benchmark for presenting it to the world. That being said, I don't think you need to be locked into that. I don't think as a person, I mean, of course, I'm American first and Italian second. So I'm also coming at things probably with more, especially as I've gotten older, more with an American kind of way of like, I want to do things kind of my own way thing. And I think also a lot of Neapolitans feel that way now also. But I don't think there's anything wrong with having those rules or that kind of a framework.
Michele, the most dramatic thing that I discussed that's different for Americans or Canadians is that the crust of Neapolitan pizza is soft or bendy or pliable, as Peyton said. And my impression is that there's a slight compromise going on in the USA, that the Neapolitan pizza is a little crisper. For example, in Naples and Vincenzo, you have Ciro Salvo doing perhaps the softest crust of all. Very morbida, very soft. You can roll it like a cigar. You can roll the pizza like that. And then you have others doing it a little bit crisper. And so there's a spectrum from 0 to softness to 3. And my impression in the US that it's more on a 3 to 5 level. And I wondered if that's your impression.
You're correct, Daniel. But getting back to the point of Anthony, it's where you want to be. If you want to be in a spectrum 1, all right. I mean, you can do it. You have the freedom. Or you want to be STG. You want to be the specialty traditionally guaranteed. You can be in their area. So their freedom now make people to create their own kind of version of the pizza, which is not a bad thing. That's why I think there should be this association. Then they preserve what this is the real format of the pizza, and any change in coming, yes, it is welcome, but it's not specialty traditionally guaranteed. In US, there hasn't been called the pizza Neapolitan, new Neapolitan, which in the beginning I was like, all right, what that really means? It means, based on what I learned, it means then it is Neapolitan, but is close to Neapolitan. That means it's only product. It's basically the same product, but baked differently. So it kind of give to the American more what they're looking for. They're holding a little better. It's not they're running ingredients on top. It's more well done. If I have to pick a word. And yeah, I mean, has it been accepted for somebody, or it has been not really accepted, refused for somebody that really like the tradition.
Mm-hmm.
So my job is to kind of be in every part, then customer or potential customer or a new pizza passion person want to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes I have to pinch myself and let things go as much I will don't like to do it. But
Right.
as you said,
Vincenzo, can you tell us what is contemporary pizza to you?
Per me è, come dire, è l'eccesso dell'equilibrio delle tecniche di lievitazione, no?
Okay, for me, is to push over all the techniques of the leavening and all the technicity that there is in the making of pizza.
Quindi che nasce dalla tradizione e si evolve.
From tradition and then with development.
And one of the most dramatic aspects of your pizza, and Peyton discussed it before, is a very inflated cornicione. So Vincenzo, I'm going to challenge you. Explain why you like the inflated cornicione.
Partiamo col dire che tutto quello che faccio in pizzeria rispecchia i rituali che aveva mio nonno in pizzeria, quindi non ho stravolto quell'aspetto.
Everything I do in my pizzeria respect the traditions that my grandfather had. So I'm not changing it.
Solo che girando il mondo ho sviluppato un tipo di tecnica diverso utilizzando i prefermenti e ho voluto valorizzare quello che c'è dentro al cornicione. Infatti sono uno di quelli che taglia le pizze con le forbici proprio perché voglio mostrare quello che c'è dentro e la gente lo mangia tutto, non è vero che lo lasciano.
Traveling all around the world, I started to learn how to develop my techniques, and I started to use some new techniques with pre-fermentation. And that's not true that many people do not eat my cornicione. I really like to cut it with the scissors.
Anzi, a tavola abbiamo le forbici perché la gente vuole vedere cosa c'è dentro per mangiarlo.
We give them scissors so they can see, we can show how is our cornicione.
È diventato protagonista. Prima la firma di un pizzaiolo era il cornicione, adesso è la struttura che c'è dentro, quindi c'è un passo ancora più.
Okay, before it was the signature of a pizza maker was the cornicione, but now it's the texture of the cornicione. So we cut the pizza with the cornicione with scissors just to see the texture, and people want to see it.
If I could come back to Peyton, now we're going to kind of think about the future of Neapolitan pizza, or the near future of the now. We're following the road, not geographically, but just where it's headed. We know a little bit about the roots. And where do you see Neapolitan pizza going at your restaurant or in the USA or in the world? Peyton?
One thing I see is people who are very enthusiastic, people who go about their pizza making with real intent, individuality, people saying, okay, what are the basics and the foundations of the tradition? But how can I push that envelope in my own way and express myself through my pizza? Anthony does it, Michele does it, Vincenzo does it. There's a lot of people that are coming at that from a really honest and personal place. Is really exciting to me.
With that view in mind, how do you see the future of the Neapolitan theater? This wonderful relationship between you or all of us watching and listening to you, the pizza lovers, the great pizza eaters of America, and you, the great pizza makers of America. How do you see, and of Neapolitan pizza, how do you see that going in the future, or how would you like to see it go?
You know, at the end of the day, like with music or with anything, I think that people that are really doing it for the right reasons always survive and come out of the back end and will continue to thrive. The future of Neapolitan pizza, I mean, I think it's going to go on forever. It's a foundation of, it's one of the foundations of like food. Pizza is such an important food in the world now. It's a foundation in Naples. Pizza in Naples is no joke. I mean, this is like blood over there. This is like, you know, this, I can't even think of what I could compare it to an American. It's almost like, I don't know what I can think of that has that deep of a connection to people's psyche and heart and soul. And I think there's always going to be people kind of pushing and trying to find a way to do things better, which is beautiful. And I think even as this goes on, I wouldn't be surprised on the backside of all this if the next wave of Neapolitan pizza ends up almost going back around to this idea of like really thin and cooked really, really fast and being really soft, you know, as we evolve through this like slightly slower bake, you know, a bigger cornicione, which requires a slightly slower bake. I think as that keeps going, it'll probably go somewhere, and then that'll almost become like stabilized. And then you're gonna have younger guys coming into it being like, oh, I just discovered this like other way of doing Neapolitan pizza now, which is the other old way, which is like really fast bit, you know. So I think it'll keep cycling, and through these cycles, you'll have like little new discoveries, and we all keep learning. And, you know, I mean, it's making pizza and making Neapolitan pizza and working with the oven the way that we all do. I mean, the opportunities to keep learning never end. I mean, I've made pizza for almost 30 years. I've made every single pizza and every dough ball for the majority of that time. And I still every day go in there and don't know what the hell I'm doing and try to figure it out.
No,
so, you know, it's like it never ends. It's like every little thing becomes something newer. You know, you use a different kind of wood and now you're dealing with that new discovery, or a different size piece of wood in the oven, or I mean, it's beautiful. And I think that's what keeps people passionate about it and keeps them interested in it as pizza makers. And then hopefully the benefits of that are, you know, you're offering these inspired foods to customers.
One thing though that's curious, and you were talking about food, what pizza means in Naples, and it's the common person's food, the cheapest food.
Yes.
The first thing you ate. Incidentally, that's the first thing I ate in New York too. I went from the breast right to the pizzeria, you know, like every New Yorker. Yeah. But actually, Neapolitan pizza in the US, it kind of intertwines with the artisanal pizza movement and is almost a snob food, okay? Or people who like sourdough bread and craft coffee and great beer, micro creators. So it's kind of an irony. So how do you square this relationship? I'd ask Peyton and Anthony this. If pizza is a snob food, is it not pizza anymore? Or am I wrong?
I can only offer, you know, what my perspective about that is. And I think it's a couple of things. So one, you know, just the sheer economics of it. I mean, you know, in a world where I didn't create the market for a $16 hamburger, for instance, that market was created, but I'm going to operate. But if people are going to pay that, then I'm going to operate in that space. So that's part of it. The other part is just understanding, you know, the skill and the labor and the effort and the intent, the difference in the products versus a traditional type of, especially in my area, a commodity pizza product. And then also I think another part of it is the way I think about it is also the way that maybe we prime the guest. So in some element, the price that I put on the product is priming the guest that this is really different, and you really shouldn't expect this to be like the other thing that you know. So there's a lot of variables there, but I mean, you're definitely right. I mean, what does Chiro sells Chiro or probably sells a pizza margherita for €9, maybe something like that. It's pretty inexpensive, probably.
Yeah, probably less than that.
Yeah,
so they have to the lid on the marinara and margherita, the shame level is low, so you have to upsell on the better varieties.
Yeah.
But You know, if you charge 10 euros for a margarita, even at Franco Pepe, you're going to be in trouble. Anthony, can I roll that back to you, that question about how high quality pizza is different in New York or New Jersey or California than in Naples or even Rome?
Yeah. Well, I mean, first it's based on, you know, like I said, when I started to raise the price, it was for a bunch of reasons. It wasn't to say, originally, it wasn't like my thinking of like, oh, I want to be, you know, charging a lot and be presenting it as a gourmet food. It was really more just the reality of the fact that like I have a New York City rent. I don't offer any other food on the menu other than pizza. So that was the originator of why I was charging what I was. I just needed to survive. And also combined with that, for me, the pricing was connected to the fact that at the time I didn't want to have anyone else make the dough or make the pizza.
Right.
So I couldn't open any more days than I was open or I was going to drop dead. So I was like, all right, how can I, if I sell this many dough balls at this price, can I survive and pay my bills and live? And that's sort of how I came up with the pricing. And now as it's gone on, yeah, I mean, you know, this kind of pizza definitely now is something different. I mean, you can't connect this to like a 99-cent slice pizza in New York City, and none of us would want to, I think. There's just no way we could. I mean, so I think this artisan pizza thing is just a spin-off of what a bunch of like Neapolitan style pizza guys were already doing in America. And then a lot of bread bakers and stuff started to want to get into the pizza business. And I think that's how you've seen this big spin-off into like artisan pizza instead of Neapolitan pizza. These are all benefits for a pizza maker and a restaurant owner, and also for customers and for the other producers of craft beer and stuff. It's nice to have these worlds kind of merge together.
A big thing of what you're doing, aside from the baker's technique, is thinking about a pizza as a chef would. You're adding new ingredients and new combinations and flavors and thinking how they can work together. Is that for you part of the future of Neapolitan pizza, these new ingredients and new combinations?
Sì, è vero, tipo la mortadella penso che mio nonno non l'abbia mai comprata per la pizza.
Okay, yeah, that's true. I don't think my grandfather ever bought mortadella for a pizza.
Quindi sì, restando sempre semplici, riesco ad aggiungere dei topping particolari sulla pizza senza troppa cucina gourmet, che è un termine che non amo.
Okay, I don't love the gourmet term. I just try to keep simple, but I always try to use more ingredients and try new flavors.
Cioè, una delle pizze più vendute è con le polpettine, ad esempio. Che non è...
One of the most sold pizzas that many people love, it's with little meatballs. So it's pretty untypical for a traditional pizza.
Sì, assolutamente, è in continua espansione e soprattutto uno deve anche rispondere alle esigenze del mercato, no? Che la gente richiede questi tipi di prodotti e quindi bisogna sempre accontentarli rimanendo la tua identità, ovviamente.
Okay, just trying to be myself, but I also have to hear about the customers and trying to explore more about the flavors and expand the tradition.
Ad esempio la stracciata sulla pizza era un ingrediente poco utilizzato, adesso è quasi usato come la mozzarella e il fior di latte.
Okay, for example, stracciata, it was not used in on pizzas before, but now it's pretty common.
Michele, let's close with you on the subject. How do you see the future of Neapolitan pizza, particularly in the USA? Or how would you like it to be?
Anthony says something that I really agree. It's gonna be back and forth in generation. Like we're gonna, in 10 years, we go back, it's like, oh my God, we gotta do pizza in like 60 seconds, 60 to 90 seconds. So we stepping back and we're gonna go forward again. That's what I see. Then it's gonna be the future. We all gonna be back and forth from the real Neapolitan pizza to the adjustment and to the innovation. I don't know what's gonna be the real future big change for pizza, but definitely right now we are in a good path because everyone wants to stand on quality. And right now, eating better food during this, crazy time. I think is important. So the selection of the raw material is crucial for the industry and for the consumer. And also, I if I have to choose a restaurant, I also choose a restaurant based on their quality, not the price anymore, because quality we know it's a benefit for us.
But I think that's our theme, that Peyton, you want it to remain, you don't want shortcuts, you want quality ingredients, you want integrity. And those are the things that matter. If we can end on that point, we hope the future is based on those things. Agreed, Anthony?
Yes. Yeah.
Vincenzo?
Sì, in particolare sulle farine non vorrei scorciatoie.
Yeah, particularly about flour, I don't want shortcuts.
Peyton?
Yeah, absolutely. The last word that you used, integrity, sort of says it all for me.
It's amazing, Michele. Pizza is the ultimate fast food in that it takes a minute to cook, but it's a slow food because fermentation takes a long time and the work involved. So it's either the slowest fast food in the world or the fastest slow food. And that's certainly a Neapolitan pizza. Thank you, guys. You're heroes of mine, all of you. And I learn from you. My job, I just try to learn and share what I learn. And you've helped us and the people we can see, but the people at the New York Pizza Festival. Thank you for being here for them and for sharing your passion. So it's been great.
Thank you, Daniel.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Okay.
guys.
Nice to see you all.